Hello, everyone, and welcome to this review episode of the Wayward Dragons podcast,
Yes.
where we take it and step aside from our normal types of topics of weird, spooky, strange, occult things, magical things, fucked up things, and all that. And we just sit and chit chat and talk about what we've been reading, what we've been watching, uh, what we've been listening to, playing, and all that fun stuff.
Yes.
I am one of your two hosts. Uh, my name is Johnny. I am a queer, neurodivergent person who has all sorts of fun and weird, interesting topics and some different views on a number of different things. I have a co-host who I have been friends with for over a decade now.
Yeah. Yeah. I'm Kelsey and I'm the other co-host. So, happy Pride Month, everybody.
Yeah, happy Pride.
Yeah, happy Pride. Because we are recording this literally the beginning of June. But because we started doing this in May to kind of change up how we do the beginning of these episodes to kind of divert because we both have our own mental health issues. What is one positive? I'm gonna keep saying positive because I've not done one fun thing. What's one positive thing that happened in between episodes?
Um, you know, there's a lot that's happened between this episode and last episode. In my personal life, with just miscellaneous things.
Same.
That's a little toughy. But,
Yeah. I'm finding it's tough right now to find something
yeah, I mean,
positive.
well, actually, I will say something is positive, and I typically try not to get too political, even though being a queer neurodivergent person, it's pretty prominent where I fall on the political spectrum. Uh,
Yes.
but I will say one positive thing:
Okay.
34 counts, all guilty.
I know.
That is something positive that happened. Granted, it's probably not going to actually have any effect on anything because his
No.
supporters have already, bought in all sorts of BS with paying for his legal fees. But that's neither here nor there. But so the positive thing is people in power that have done corrupt things actually being held accountable for once.
Yes. Yeah. That is a positive thing. Um yeah. So I planted a whole bunch of garlic. Due to my planting zone, I had to plant them at the beginning of winter where I live. I did not think that they were going to survive because my dog likes to pee right there in my garlic. I was out checking our raspberry bushes. I'm getting raspberries. I have a feeling they're all going to be available at once. But some of my garlic has survived. My positive thing is I'm starting to get garlic scapes where the flower starts before the flower blooms.
Mm-hmm.
That little part that comes out. I'm getting garlic scapes on my garlic.
That's cute.
So I'm like, my husband planted our potatoes and our like catnip plant and stuff. There's still some herbs we have to go buy. But yeah, our garden is looking good. We got some stuff to plant. Maybe I can get him to help me this week. We gotta plant zucchini and stuff. And due to our planting zone, we have to wait till like June.
Yeah, you do live in like the most inopportune place for planting most things.
Dude. Well, and we're in suburbia, so
Mm-hmm.
it's we don't have the space that we want. Um, but just because we have a big tree in the backyard, we have to be kind of aware of where we plant stuff because shit needs sunlight. So we we've got like zucchini and squash and like pumpkins and stuff we want to grow. So we're gonna grow that in the back behind the garage because that it can grow and do its thing, and I don't have to worry about it squashing other stuff. Um, so
I don't know if that was intentional or not, but
mm, mm-mm. I literally just woke up like maybe 30 minutes ago. My one cat has been glued to me. Um, I love him so much, but he's such a pain in the ass. My little orange baby. I'm surprised he's not in here, honestly. Um, so what have you been reading? Let's go you first, because I haven't really finished anything, but I have a book cover I want to get your opinion on.
so without going into too much detail, uh, I the main stuff I've been reading is actually for reference for last week's episode of a regular scheduled episode. If that confuses anyone, it's because we record these out of order for new listeners, where
Yeah,
we record them both on the same day, just as easier for us schedule wise and mentally.
yeah.
And so we do the review episode first, then the actual episode. So if you want to know more about these topics, you should go listen to last week's episode. Um,
Okay.
but so I read Chaos Magic by Seth uh, Cardorra, and I read Liber Null by Peter J. Carroll. There's a few other books that I've like been working my way through with them, or with Chaos Magic, but I did not care as much for uh, Seth uh, Cardorra's, if that's how you pronounce his last name, because he even says in the book, "Hey, this isn't my real last name, a real name. I used a completely different name to protect myself," which is fine. You know, obviously dealing with the occult, being published and stuff like that. Especially in these trying times, it can definitely be problematic
Yeah.
with how like certain people view what you're doing in your practices, because unfortunately we are living in a time where once again you have to be secretive about certain practices because people are fucking crazy.
Oh, yeah.
And you know, it's difficult. But yeah, so it's really interesting. He half his book he just took part of stuff from Liber Null and a few other books, and he kind of like pushed the ideas in there and saying, hey, this is basically what this is. This is basically what this is, and then tied in stuff from other books he's written. So if you want like a just an overview of his works, I would say it's a good book. Otherwise, it's a lot of the information you can get from other sources. It's not bad, but it's
Okay.
not the best source. Now, Liber Null, as I will have mentioned in last week's episode that we're recording next, and I'm not sure what the proper grammatical way to say that is, uh, because for us it's in the future, and for you, dear listeners,
Yeah,
it's in
it
the
hasn't
past.
happened yet. But by the time this comes out, it's already happened.
But it's the first book on chaos magic that was published and was the big driving factor for the spread of chaos magic. That being said, there's a lot of information there, and the author did the best he could with expressing and sharing that information. But some of it can be difficult to read for people who are new to both chaos magic and or new to just magical practices and occult practices in general. There are other books that I will kind of, I believe I talked about in last week's episode, or will have talked about in last week's episode. I don't know. I don't know what the fucking proper grammar is here. Sorry, guys. Uh, but I'm not even halfway through my coffee. I haven't been up very long either. I'm just like mentally sorting through things. But
Oh,
yeah, so there's a lot of other books that you can delve into and look into. Now I'm curious if I put those in my notes. So I think I'm gonna have to pull up some books and on the subject while you are doing your review, uh, which is fine. But anyways, that's neither here nor there. Sorry, I'm rambling.
you're
Um,
fine.
interesting concepts. you can get into my opinions on the book in last week's episode. That is what I've really been focused on reading. We can get into stuff I've been watching and stuff after you talk about anything you've been reading or your book cover.
So, one, I've saved over $700 from the library so far this year at the beginning of June. My library is one of those that will, at the bottom of like your, when you physically go in, this is physical book, doesn't include like living and stuff. I've saved over $700, which is cool. I have been waiting on this book for a very long time at the library, and I want you to know, and I think people have already figured it out. I definitely judge books by their covers, and if they're not very fun or whatever, I don't want to read it. And I checked this out purely because of the cover, nothing else. Okay? You ready?
Yeah.
It's a cat in a suit.
And the name of the book is Starter Villain.
Yeah. It's a cat in a suit.
I mean, all cats are evil masterminds.
I thought this was funny. The synopsis on the back is Charlie's life is going nowhere. A divorced substitute teacher living with his cat in a house his siblings want to sell. All he wants is to open a pub downtown. His long-lost uncle Jake dies and leaves his supervillain, complete with island volcano lair, business to Charlie. But Jake had enemies, and now they're coming after Charlie. His uncle might have been a stand-up, old-fashioned kind of villain, but these are rich, soulless predators. It's up to Charlie to win the war against a league of supervillains, but with unionized dolphins, hyper-intelligent talking spy cats, and a terrifying hench person at his side. Going bad is starting to look pretty good. Oh. And it's large print. Fucking massive. Yeah. I've been waiting for forever from the library. I literally reserved it because it looks like one of my cats in a suit. I have a tabby cat. So I reserved that because I thought it looked absolutely hilarious. So that's the next one because it's been on hold for so long. So I'm almost finished with the Pallbearers Club. I kind of talked about this last episode, our last review episode, because I'll have to find a better page here. So it's a gentleman has written, and this is complete fiction, a gentleman by the name of Art has written a memoir. And I say memoir. And his very good friend back in like high school and stuff gets a hold of the memoir and starts like
you always forget that your lighting from your computer makes it impossible for me to. So he's annotating it.
So the person is editing it.
Okay. Oh yeah.
So it's been fun to try to decide what part of Art's story is actually real, or is what she's saying real and he's over exaggerating. So you have to kind of take everything kind of with a grain of salt of, is it real? Because like so far we've only had like one spooky incident happen. It starts out as he needs kind of a club on his college resumes in high school to get into college. And he saw on like Nickelodeon at night this guy out in San Francisco. He made a pallbearers club where they would be the pallbearers at funerals of people that either were homeless or just don't have any family. So that way there's people at the funerals type thing. So he starts one, and all that's in the club is him and this other girl from a local college named Mercury. And there's one night that like they're hanging out and she comes back to the house to kind of stay the night because she's like really stoned and stuff. And some weird stuff happens and then they just don't talk. But I was wondering, because you are punk aficionado here, the main undercurrent is his love for music, specifically punk music.
Okay. So he likes shitty music.
His favorite, hold on, let me find it, is this like German band. It's like had something. I don't know. But like they talk nothing but like music and bands for a really long time, and like he talks about all the bands that he's been into, and since because they kind of stopped hanging out before he went to college because of the weird spooky incident, and then she finds him one night after he's played, and that's kind of where I'm at in this. But like Public Image Limited, Public Enemy, General Public, like they talk about all these different bands, but like his favorite is a like German band. It's like Hash Do or something like that shit. But yeah, you have to take everything with a grain of salt with this, because like, is he telling the truth or is she telling the truth?
Well, so my grandfather used to say all the time, there are three sides to every story.
Yeah.
His side, her side, and the truth. Which I kind of like, slightly taking a he and her out of that. But, they're probably in a sense both telling part of the truth. But
yeah,
they're telling their truth from their perspective.
Yeah. So I'm almost done with that. I'll probably finish that later this week.
If you figure out what that band is, let me know because I am very interested.
It's like,
because I'm looking at the top 50. Like I'm looking right now at a list of the top 50 German punk bands, and there's nothing close to that on.
So that's why I'm like, I wonder if like they picked real bands.
Well, some of the other ones you mentioned are actual bands.
Husker Du, HU, and it's got the dots over the U, SKERDU with the dots over the U. That's like his favorite band in the book.
Okay, they are a punk band from. They kind of did their big outbreak in '84.
I was like, this. Yeah, so like the kind of main undercurrent of how they become really close friends is she kind of introduces him into punk before Nirvana, kind of.
So they are an American German band. So they're actually an American band with German members
Okay.
from Minneapolis.
Okay. Well, it's nice to know the bands they mention are real.
Yeah.
I kind of wish there was like a soundtrack with the book or like a Spotify playlist kind of thing of like the bands that they talk about, and like, because yeah, he talks about a whole bunch.
Now I have to see what they sound like. Let me give my honest opinion here.
I was like, you're my punk music.
Like you guys are about to get a live interaction here because I'm actually not familiar with this band. Okay, so the top song on Spotify has 22,524,470 439 plays. So let's see what this is. It's I want to know if you are lonely.
What you can't see is Johnny's just like kind of bouncing to music.
Oh yeah.
Yeah?
Oh yeah.
Like, oh yeah, apparently he's found himself a new band. This is gonna be Johnny listens to a lot of different punk. Like
Sorry.
a lot of
I'm over here dancing. No, no, these guys sound great.
Yeah?
Oh yeah, no, I'm gonna have to check these guys out more often. They have 191,000 monthly listeners, so they're fairly popular. I don't know how I've never
Yeah.
heard of these guys. If I have, it's just kind of like,
Never.
yeah,
Yeah.
never really clicked. But no, these guys are awesome.
Yeah. Because he talks about a lot of different bands. They Might Be Giants, Kate Bush, Black Sabbath.
Okay, they
Like,
might be giants are really popular. You probably actually might know them. I don't know if they were in. You watched Tiny Toons when you were younger, right?
huh? Looney Tunes?
Tiny Toons.
Oh, yeah.
Okay, they did a lot of songs for Tiny Toons.
Oh. Well,
You know, Istanbul, Constantinople, Istanbul. Okay, that's they might be giants.
that's them?
Yeah,
That's what?
yeah.
Yeah.
And then Particle Man, Particle Man.
Yeah. Well, yeah. Bad Religion.
Dude, okay, I gotta talk about Bad Religion for a second. They are, and they're an iconic band. They're an iconic punk band.
Yeah.
They're so fucking iconic. So they are all my mom's age. They all went to school together.
Yeah.
Those guys, I saw them last time I saw them was a couple years ago. They still go so hard. That is by far one of the best shows I have ever been to. And
Yeah.
they still go so hard, and they're my mom's age. So
Yeah.
they're 60, like they're in their early 60s. They go so hard, and the show was so much fun. It was it's such a great show, such a great atmosphere. You know, I saw them, War on Women, which is an amazing all female punk band that you know, if you're into fem punk or fem rock or anything like that, if you want to like look into like social justice stuff, they are great. They actually talk about, you know, they have songs about consent and how it's important and just trauma and struggles that women go through. Absolutely amazing band. And then Taking Back Sunday was the other band that was at that concert.
Okay.
It was great show. Like 100% phenomenal. Actually, because you know, I was for those who have not been to punk shows or I'm not really sure for metal shows, but you know, when they have a mosh pit, there's typically some people that are like at the line to
Yeah.
stop the other people from getting hit that don't want to get hit by the mosh pit. And so
Yeah.
I'm typically because I'm a big dude,
Yeah.
and
Never
I'm
know.
typically one of those people that are setting at the line because I can take a hit
Yeah.
and like multiple hits over and over. And so I'm typically there, you know, not to toot my own horn or virtue signal or anything like that, but I'm typically the guy that one of the guys that's there that's taking the hits of people who are in front, like people with disabilities or smaller people who don't want to be in the mosh pit, or just people who are just trying to enjoy themselves and aren't into moshing, so they
Yeah.
don't get hit.
Yeah.
So the security guards at the show saw me doing that
Yeah.
and were buying me drinks because I was making their job easier because I was preventing for people from getting hurt.
That's great.
So the venue was it was really freaking cool. It was a great time, and they were buying me like top shelf stuff, and so like I was because depending on what kind of show I'm at, you know, and depends on what I'm drinking. But that night I was drinking whiskey ginger ales, which are really enjoyable. Um,
Yeah.
and when we went to the bar, he's like, you know, the bartender's like, well, first off, he took me to like the private section bar. So it's like the people who like VIPs and stuff.
Yeah.
And so he took me up there, and the bartender was just like, "Do you want a single or a double?" And the security guard, nah, he was like, "Nah, give this man a triple." So it was like, so the glasses only fit about 5 ounces, and 3 of those ounces were whiskey. And I'm just like, okay, this is a bit too much, but sure. And it was like top shelf whiskey too. So it was entertaining. But no, that show was absolutely amazing. Sorry, back on topic. I could
That is fantastic, though.
yeah.
Yeah, no, I just think it's incredible that he actually talks about real bands. I was gonna ask you if these were real bands.
Yeah.
Tree, Black, Sam Black Church, Only Living Witness,
Mhm.
Buffalo Tom. Because I know who Devo is. I know who REM is. I know who Boston is. I know
Yeah.
who those people are. But yeah, the undercurrent is their love for music. That's how Mercury and Art connect. Is she introduces him to punk, but punk before Nirvana, before all the grunge stuff kind of came out.
Yeah.
Because he talks about he gets 2 speakers and gets his cassette. So we'll put the cassette in the tape deck and we'll lay in between the speakers.
Yep. There was actually a song that is about doing something similar to that, and the song's like to best enjoy this album. You know, take 2 speakers, place them at 45 degrees from you, place your head directly in the middle of those speakers, and so it just like goes and like starts off with that, and like the best way to get the best listening enjoyment from
Yeah.
music, and then it goes into like all sorts of struggles that people have in addition to that. Like, this also helps you enjoy this album or this music. I don't remember the name of that song, but yeah, so it's that is actually.
Yeah. So yeah, I'm interested to see how it ends. I'll let everybody know how it ends. I've been listening to a lot of podcasts. So I finished up Crimes of the Century. I'm all caught up with that. I love Paul Holes. I think Paul Holes is a great person. Paul Holes is the man behind the genetic testing that happened to catch the Golden State Killer.
Mm-hmm.
So that's who Paul Holes is. Paul Holes wrote an amazing book. It's called Unmasked, and he narrates it. I think Paul Holes has a great monotone voice. But his book Unmasked is very good. It's about his cold cases and stuff the ones that like really bothered him and stuff. But he has a podcast with Caitlin Claire Dawson, who does Tenfold More Wicked. Her podcast is she interviews people, other authors and other journalists of why did you write this story about this true crime story? Like, why did you write it? It's a very different interview process than your normal true crime. But her and Paul Holes has a podcast called Buried Bones. She comes to him as a journalist. And it's a case per episode, and she dissects the case for him, and then given his background, they kind of talk about whether like how he would have gone about it as a kind of forensic person, but whether that case, because it's a lot of older cases, whether that case should have stood up in court.
Okay.
So I've been going through Buried Bones. They're about 45 minutes to about an hour kind of process. The last one I just listened to was about the Limburg baby kidnapping. Like his main concern is, how did the baby die? How did it get its big hole in its head? Kind of thing. Those who don't know, the Limburg baby is a baby that got kidnapped. The Limburg was a pilot. He was the first man to travel transatlantic. So he went from New York to, I want to say, London, when airplanes first became huge. In early 1920s, late 1920s, his son gets kidnapped, and it becomes all over the news. His kid is one of the first to get kidnapped in the U.S. So they kind of talk about the forensics, the note, and how the little baby dies and stuff, and they kind of dissect that of it's probably possible that the baby fell when it was getting taken, and first trauma kind of vibe. But it's very interesting to hear Paul Holes's perspective on a lot of cases. There's a lot of older cases, stuff that obviously would not have held up in court today, even without Paul Holes's input. So that's what I've been listening to. I haven't really been watching anything that's like worthwhile. I wanna watch the Reading Rainbow documentary on Netflix.
Do what?
You didn't know they released that on Netflix?
I didn't know that was a thing.
Yeah, I want to say it's on Netflix now. Yeah.
Well, I know what I'm doing today.
Yeah. Okay, I'll watch it and then you watch it, and then when we reconvene, we'll watch
Yeah.
it. We'll talk about it together.
Hmm.
Yeah, I want to say, yeah, Butterfly in the Sky is what it's called.
Okay. I can't see what's on your phone, but okay.
Yeah.
Yeah, look it up.
So it is on Netflix. It will start. So for all of the younger kids, when we were kids, we had a show called Reading Rainbow with LeVar Burt, um,
Good.
Burton, and he, besides my grandmother, like I loved watching that show. My grandmother's one of the reasons why I read between her and my dad. They are the reasons why I read what I read. But watching Reading Rainbow as a kid, like that's how a lot of us got into reading, and stuff. Because he's stories and it's interactive between him and Wishbone. Like,
Mm.
that's
Honestly, I don't get why, out of all the shows that I hate that they remade, I don't get why they haven't remade Wishbone or made Wishbone for like books that we read now, which could be a little weird depending on the books. But no, it's
like
like
keep
you
it
learn
going kind of
we
thing.
learned we learned about all sorts of classic literature
Yeah,
from a dog, which was
yeah,
amazing.
yeah,
But Reading Rainbow was amazing, amazing TV
yeah,
show with LeVar Burton, where he would take it and read to us stories, children's stories and stuff. And for those of you who don't know, LeVar Burton is an amazing actor,
yeah,
amazing human being. His big major breakthrough role was Kuta Kinte on a show called Roots, or
yes,
television special movie. I don't remember exactly
yeah.
which one.
I want to say it was a movie.
Yeah, I think it's technically a mini series. I don't, but anyways, that's neither here
Yeah,
nor there. But which depicts, and it's from what I understand, still one of the most like realistic depictions of slavery.
yes,
Like it's like, and it doesn't even come close to the horrors that people went through.
yeah,
But and then from there he went on to play Geordie LaForge in Star Trek Next Generation.
yeah. I was like,
And
that's what
George,
he's known for.
his daughter is actually around our age. I think she's a little younger. Uh, but I think she's like my kid sister's age. But
Yeah.
Mika is absolutely amazing individual as well. Does a lot of cosplay, does a lot of like, you
Oh
know,
yeah,
humanitarian work and all sorts of other stuff.
yeah,
Amazing, amazing lady. But it's it's such an influential
yeah,
part in millennials' childhood.
yeah. So yeah, we'll both have to watch, and then when we come back, we'll talk about it because it kind of goes into how he started the show and all that stuff.
Okay.
So between him, Mr. Rogers, and Wishbone, they're kind of the core of what a lot of us watched growing up. So yeah, because we didn't have like Bluey and all that stuff, the super overstimulating shows. I
I don't know. I mean, we had like Eureka's Castle and all of
Yeah,
that, which was pretty out there. But yeah,
yeah,
that they need to have just a public television stream. They didn't have a streaming service just for kids shows. And
yeah,
I know it's not going to happen because different rights are owned by different companies, but that way kids can actually have a streaming service with like quality shows and not just
yeah,
some of this less than helpful stuff that's out. Like Bluey is actually a great show for people with kids and stuff like that. And I know a lot of kids love it and a lot of parents love it because it actually talks about like the struggles of being a parent and makes
yeah,
it and doesn't do it in like a shaming way, saying, "Hey, this is your fault" or anything like that. So everyone that I know that has young children that watch Bluey say it's
yeah.
phenomenal. But yeah,
What
have
about
you
you?
been listening to anything else? No,
No, no,
I
just Buried Bones.
I haven't
I've
really been
been so
I haven't really been watching much. However, I did start and actually no, I lied. There is something that I started watching, which is this amazing show for anyone who has Dropout, called Smarty Pants, and it's literally just people giving dumb presentations on miscellaneous things, and some of them, like one of the guys is, these are the cartoon characters that would be invited to the cookout, uh, which is a black dude doing it. So obviously, for those of you who don't know, the cookout is a place or a thing that, uh, and everyone has cookouts, but for the black community, it is a thing where, uh, they talk about issues that people are dealing with in their community and the
Yeah.
struggles and the structure of the world that they're having to cope with because of, the system being completely fucked and unfair and, very much systematically against them. So, he does this whole, like, funny thing of who would be invited to the cookout. There's another guy who does a presentation on why we should blow up the moon. Of course, it's humorous. There's a guy who does a presentation on, and Kelsey will love this, which cryptid would be best to get baked with. So he actually goes into research, on which cryptid would be best to get stoned with. And, like, he goes on, like, oh, well, this one wouldn't be good because this reason. And Loch Ness Monster would be bad because, he would get the blunt wet and you wouldn't be able to smoke it as well. And so guess who he finally decides on who the best cryptid would be to get stoned with? No, Bigfoot. Bigfoot is, according to him and all of his research that he has, independently, done, Bigfoot is the cryptid that best be stoned with. There is also a person who does a bit on, a comparison of how professional wrestling is the exact same thing as drag.
Yeah.
Which I have heard that, like, people comment on that, but she actually breaks it down, and I'm like, no, this is 100% accurate.
Yeah.
Yeah. But other than that, that's what I've, like, and there's only a few episodes out, and I've, like, caught them here and there. Other than that, the only thing really that I've been, like, imbibing on is I started and have caught up to an episode called White Hallmark that is by one of the two co-hosts from, Go Home Bible You're Drunk, and Tori Douglas, who is awesome individual. She did this whole thing where she's literally like, hey, as a person of color, this is shit that I deal with. And I'm expressing this in a way that, white folks can understand. And the whole thing is like, are teaching white folks about the black experience. And like, it's not like in a shameful way. It's just a, hey, this, if you want to be a good ally, this is what you should do. This is what we experience and deal with every day. You do these things and you don't see a problem with them, but some of these things there are problems with. So she, like, did this awesome thing, and then, they have a thing on the show where, for their version of basically an attempt at reparations for any people who want to donate, they're actually paying rent for, black families in need.
Okay.
So you can donate to it, and, you can do it like monthly or whatever you're able to donate, but to help black families in need, because the system's fucked up and very much against people of color.
Yeah.
But that's really all that I have been listening to. So.
Bye-bye. What are you doing? Maybe I can get Warrior to come in and say hi. Lazy Bones finally decided to get out of bed after he's been farting in my face all night.
Yeah. So I think that is a good place for us to wrap up.
Yeah, I was like, I really don't have anything else. No.
Join us next week as Kelsey digs into some fun things about one of the Grimm's fairy tales.
Yeah, we're going to go behind the origin story behind a Grimm fairy tale. So I haven't decided when I'm doing it. So I'm gonna try and get something that hasn't been done, like Beauty and the Beast. Everybody kind of knows that that's a true story, so maybe I can find a
Well,
different one.
that's French, I believe.
Yes, so
Yeah.
I'm trying to find something that's not that.
Yeah.
So we'll see how I go. I haven't said what I'm doing yet.
Yeah. So, and don't forget to like, rate, review. You can do that
Rate,
too.
review, subscribe. Join me
That
on Fable as the Wayward Daughter, so we can talk more about books. And if there's enough of you, we can eventually start a book club where Johnny and I will read the same book.
Yep. And that could be very interesting.
Yeah. Yeah.
And then if you want to know more about the books that I read, since I'm keeping it like some of the information secretive because I want you to go back and listen to last week's episode because I'm going to be 100% that guy. Go check out last week's episode because we haven't recorded it yet, but I'm sure it is going to be interesting and a doozy. I'm sure I'm going to say something interesting and profound. I'm
Yes.
sure Kelsey's going to be utterly confused.
Yes.
And we'll have a good chuckle.
Yeah, guarantee I will be confused.
So until next time, I'm Johnny.
And I'm Kelsey.
Bye.